Hello, I'm Dwayne, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about something that plagues all of us, and that's the internal critic. I want to explain a little bit about what that internal critic does to you and what its purpose and function is, and how important it is to let it go and release it. So let's get started. Years ago, I got into hypnosis because I wanted to discover what was going on. I wanted to figure out what was going on with humanity. And what I discovered then was that we were under a state of hypnosis. That it's not about me or anyone else putting you into a state of hypnosis to assist you in becoming better. It's about dehypnotizing you from something that's gone on. This is what I found. So what I found is that we have within us this little model that I have in front of you. What is this model? Well, we have social consciousness over here, something we develop. And we were born with God consciousness, our true nature. Okay? Now, and we have a critic. And this critic is designed, it starts at about school, when you first start school. But this critic is designed to come between something in your psyche. The critic comes between the social consciousness and God consciousness. And of course, in this consciousness, in social consciousness, when you're deep in social consciousness, it's telling you all the time that you can't go over here. Because if you went over there, of course, you wouldn't be social consciousness anymore. You wouldn't be what they call the false matrix. You would be in another matrix, another reality. But they want you to all follow this reality, the social consciousness. So they develop all sorts of interesting things to keep you hypnotized over here and staying out of here, where you will evolve and grow as a being, as a spiritual being. And this all has to do with an interesting little thing that we call the critic. It's the critic that keeps you from coming over here. It's the fear of embarrassment. It's the fear of looking different to the rest of the people. They really play on that one hugely. And the biggest thing that they use, of course, to keep you indoctrinated over here is the television, media, and just an overall social consciousness that's self-governing. This self-governing social consciousness keeps everybody hypnotized over here. As you investigate even a little deeper, you find that this is mainly left brain, and this is mainly right brain. So the division is in the middle of your own mind, keeping you from going over here to creating your own solutions. Over here, you don't have the imagination, or you don't have the intuition to create your own solutions. I think you can see where I'm going with this. That if we continually play over here on this side, we lose track of everything that we are as a sovereign individual. If you're taking a look in the world of things nowadays, you're going to see that there's a big attack on free people. They don't want free people. They don't want people that are free thinkers. In fact, when we were in school, we drug those little free thinkers, don't we? We put them on Ritalin. We put them on other drugs too, because they don't fit into the social consciousness. And what is this social consciousness? This social consciousness is nothing more than a program, a false matrix, if you will, that has been developed that everybody buys into. That's the only reason that it makes it real. There was a time that people believed that the world was flat. Everyone believed the world was flat, right? And so they convinced people that the world was flat and they'd fall off the edge of this world. If they ventured out too far, it kept them all at home pretty well, right? Next to the castle. But then people started venturing out saying, you know what, I kind of believe that there's something more here, right? And there was a lot of people attacked, hurt, because of this concept and idea that they felt that the world was round. Until finally one day, somebody ventured out and proved that the world was round. And then everybody else had to change their way of thinking to accommodate. And that change is what people, not people, but what society and the runners of society don't want you to be able to do, is to change too easily. Because if you could change as fast as what you can change over here, you wouldn't have problems for very long. And you'd get on to the living of life and the enjoyment of life. But over here, you're convinced of your limitations. So the critic stands guard and keeps check. I was first introduced to this aspect of the mind, saying that that part of the mind protects this part of the mind. I realized that everything that I was taught is an absolute flip. If you flip it over, that's exactly the way it is. So the critic is really protecting its own interest with the social consciousness. When we're 5, 6, 7 years old, we start developing this critic. We start gauging ourselves according to others. We start to judge ourselves as to what we can do based on what society does. And we start dummying down and limiting ourselves. Like I say, it's a very well-orchestrated, self-governing machine that runs right inside your own head. Now, when we remove the critic, when we get rid of this aspect, and we let go of this division in here, and we find that this part of our mind, the social consciousness, starts to break down its barriers. It starts realizing that, you know what, I'm not actually that limited. I can actually do things. I can think of things. I can be very creative. There's all sorts of things that we start to recognize once we go over here to that part of allow this critic to leave and go and allow the social aspect to come over here and blend. And when it blends, it starts blending with this, and the brain runs in the way that it ought to run, which is right brain dominant, and then left brain puts the structure to your ideas and concepts. We realize that there's a much freer way to run our own mind. But with the critic in between, anytime that we try to go over here, we're bounced back. So it's very good to have a session where you get rid of the critic. Because when you get rid of the critic, you realize that it doesn't belong to you. It's no longer you. And if it's no longer you, then all you hear is the loving voice from this aspect of your consciousness that supports you, encourages you to grow and be more. That's its job. Again, the critic, don't worry about the critic as far as being something of you. It's not. It's not. It's a learned behavior. You weren't born with the critic inside of you. It isn't part of the development of a human being to install a critic. The critic comes and is installed in us after we're born, when we start self-judging, when we start self-criticizing. And that is well promoted in our society, because that's the self-governing tool that makes everything run. Now, when you're over here in this part, in just the social consciousness aspect, you don't realize that you're manifesting reality for other people. That you're manifesting reality based on what society wants. So as limited as what society is, that's the level in which you're manifesting. It's no mistake that when you experience the news, you experience whatever's on the box, that it's teaching you and telling you all the time, this is who you are. This is what you wear. This is what you eat. This is what you drive. This is who you are. It's telling you who you are. When you're in God consciousness, you know who you are. And you're not of this world. You're not of this social consciousness at all. In fact, you can really clearly see the social consciousness running and realize what a trap it is. Because the only reason that social consciousness exists is because every one of us is manifesting it. Every one of us is only paying attention to what's in social consciousness, remanifesting it all the time. Okay? A lot of times I hear people say to me, you know, I know it's something within me that's causing this, that I can't do what I need to do. And I go, yeah, it is. It's all within you. It's all happening from you. And we don't realize that we're supporting so much this social consciousness that all of our conversation, all of our ideas and concepts are all based on this social consciousness, and that we're manifesting and remanifesting this reality. But you know that any reality is only as strong as the people that believe in it. And more people are starting to come here and starting to believe in this, starting to believe in their own sovereign nature as a God themselves. And the more people do this, the more this starts to fade away. It starts to fade away because it's a false reality. Everything that's in the cosmos, everything that's connected to source energy, other beings, all know this consciousness. That's where higher intelligence comes from. That's where advanced technologies come from. It's from this God consciousness, not from the social consciousness. In fact, the social consciousness, if you really take a look at it, without intuition and without any ability of creative thought, that this is a demise, that this is going to end up gone, dead, because you can't fight yourself out of a wet paper bag when you're well in this social consciousness, because it doesn't give room for intuition or creative ideas. None of that. You just follow what you have been told. This is social consciousness. And that's the critic in between that keeps you in social consciousness. So this is why I've developed a program to help you remove the critic inside of you. To remove this critic and start moving this social consciousness, dissolving it, right? So that there is only the God consciousness, and you as a human being evolving the way you ought to evolve, the way you were always supposed to evolve. Using your creative mind, creating solutions for yourself, freeing yourself quicker, letting go of sadness and depression because you can't move forward, because you can move forward. So when you look at it, really, the critic itself is the veil. When you lift the critic, you lift the veil. When you get rid of the critic, you get rid of the veil between. And that veil, once it's removed, you become very aware of this sovereign being that you are, this God consciousness. Or you could call it source consciousness. You can call it anything you want to call it. But it's a higher level of intelligence right within you. It's a higher state of being right within you. When you remove this critic, all of a sudden there is a sense of oneness, a sense of love. There's a sense of peace, internal peace. Because being that it is a foreign object, it's a foreign thing, when you remove it and let it go, you come back into what is called the power of your true nature. And that true nature is you as a god, goddess, source, sorcerer, sorceress, or whatever you want to call yourself. But you come into your own. You begin to realize that you have been manifesting and remanifesting that social consciousness by paying attention to it, by arguing about it, by being any sort of energy towards it, remanifests it. The only way to disappear something like that is to put your attention and awareness on something else. And when you do, then your connection to it breaks. And you start to drift out and away from that concept. Like I say, I spent years looking at how people were already hypnotized, because I knew that this source, God, source energy, consciousness lived within each and every one of us. But my question was why aren't people discovering it? Why aren't people stepping into it? Why aren't people becoming this great part of who they are? And then I realized that the critic is the veil that keeps that curtain closed between you and that greater part of yourself right within you. Not outside, not on some mountain somewhere, not in some drug somewhere, but right in you. Right inside of you, you can lift the veil. And when you lift the veil, you become into a different consciousness. And in that different consciousness, everything flips and you understand things differently. You're more free. You are free. You're as free as you choose to be. Because it's only as much as you can allow yourself to believe in your own imagination. That's how free you become. That's what I want you to experience. That's what I want you to come into. There's a deep love for source energy in yourself, and this freedom that we ought to be experiencing here on this plane of existence, not limitation. Well, I hope you enjoyed the little demonstration, and I'll see you soon. Remember to take the opportunity to book a session and let go of your critic. The link to the session is below this video. Take care. Bye for now.